Hitting a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, getting a hole-in-one, sinking a full-court shot, all these things are incredible feats of athleticism and coordination. But you may be wondering, what out of all these things is the most improbable and difficult task in sports? If you were to ask me, I would have a different answer. As an MMA fan, my mind immediately translates our imposed question to something else. What is the hardest thing to do in MMA? Which I believe is the most difficult sport due to its ruthless physical and mental toll it takes on the participant. Upon pondering the answer to this question, I realized a rapidly growing trend in the UFC specifically, moving up in weight. A lot of people may say that moving down in weight is much more tasking on the fighter because they're pushing the physical limits of their body to get a bigger advantage come fight night. It's simple. You weigh in smaller, you fight bigger, you fight someone smaller. Been done for a long time. And I agree that moving down in weight is incredibly difficult. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we've seen some brutal weight cuts in the past few years. We've seen the vlogs. It's disgusting. It's hard to do. However, moving up in weight has become very common. And I believe that after we are done analyzing our case studies, you will agree that moving up in weight can be a much greater challenge than moving down in weight. First, to set some ground rules, to get us all in the same mindset, let's establish the weight classes in martial arts that we'll be looking at. First, I got 145, featherweight. Second, I got 155, lightweight. Lastly, 170, welterweight. I believe these three weight classes have the most fighters jump between them, because these weights have the perfect balance of being close enough to the weight of the average male. Not that UFC fighters are average males, but you get what I'm saying. And being achievable enough for said male to cut down to the weight limit to get an advantage come fight night. Now that's out the way, let's get to our first case study. Now, size matters a ton in MMA. Not like real life, guys. Size doesn't matter in real life. So you could be perfectly normal size in real life. You could be like 5'8".
For women to say, oh, you're 5 feet on dating sites, you should be dead, that's okay?
Who said that to you here? Nobody.
Women in general have said it on dating sites. You think I'm making that shit up?
But size matters a ton in MMA, which is what makes Alexander Volkanovski all the more praised by MMA fans. On top of being a great guy who's extremely friendly and also a great cook, might I add, he's extremely small. He's like 5'6", which is normal height in real life, but for a fighter, he's extremely small. And that even applies to the featherweight weight class. Not only can being bigger in MMA give you an advantage, but it can change the entire sport around you. And if you're not fit to adapt, then you're just going to simply perish. At UFC 284, Alexander Volkanovski challenged the then current champion Islam Makhachev for the lightweight championship in hopes to become a double champion. At that time, he held the featherweight title. The fight was essentially crowning who would be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. And you may know how the story goes already, but if not, let's just say Volkanovski was not that fighter. Moving up in weight is an incredibly interesting idea when you really think about it, because you're voluntarily surrendering one of the biggest advantages you can have in MMA, which is size. In Volk's case, all in search of greatness. Volkanovski didn't necessarily become a worse fighter magically out of nowhere just because he became 155 pounds, but the physical matchup changed to something he had no experience in. He had never faced something like that before. This is especially true considering how big of a lightweight Islam was. More on him later. Our second case is very similar to Alexander's, and that's that of Ilia Topuria attempting to make the same exact jump from 145 to 155. At first, he was extremely successful. At UFC 317, Ilia Topuria fought Charles Oliveira for the vacant lightweight championship, and he won by knockout in the first round. Ilia Topuria at the time was known extremely well for his hard-hitting, one-punch knockout power. His knockout power was his greatest attribute, arguably, but it probably was, especially at featherweight, in which his opponents couldn't hit as hard as he could, and they most certainly could not take those hits. We saw that a lot. If moving up is so difficult, then why are we talking about a man that made it look so easy? That doesn't make much sense. Well, the answer is because it didn't stay easy for Ilia. Because on the south lawn of the White House, Ilia ran into Justin Gaethje.
You know, my dad is my father.
Justin was an extreme underdog against Ilia. I think it was 6-1 at times. But in a way, Justin was the perfect opponent for Ilia. He was almost like his kryptonite. At one point, I believe it was John Anik who said, coming into this fight, Ilia's got 2 minutes of experience against lightweights. Gaethje had hours. No one could imagine featherweight challengers taking these kinds of hits from Ilia, but no one had really thought what it looked like if a lightweight took those same punches. The jump in chin strength from featherweight to lightweight was already pretty established amongst MMA fans. Everyone kind of unanimously agreed, yeah, you know, you knock out a featherweight easier than you knock out a lightweight. Goes without saying. But Gaethje was especially a different beast. Gaethje was extremely durable, maybe one of the best survivalists in the UFC at the time. Maybe still is. And he walked Ilya down with jabs. Justin fought an amazing fight, planned and executed perfectly, but Ilya's loss can be attributed to one real thing, and that's a false sense of confidence that Justin would be no different than another featherweight punching bag. Justin was anything but. Our last case can most certainly be deemed a success story if you really want to call it that, but it no doubt shows the difficulty of moving up weight classes in MMA. And our last case is the current welterweight champion, Islam Makhachev. As of 2026, Islam is currently on a 17-win fight streak, the longest in the UFC's history. And he's the most decorated lightweight champion of all time. Islam's move up in weight outshines the previously mentioned two. No doubt about it. But it still presents us with the same result that we have been seeing, the same trend, and that's that a fighter's best attributes might not translate against an opponent of a different class, if at all. Islam so far has beaten Jack Della Maddalena and Ian Machado Gary, both via decision in which he approaches the fight with the same strategy of getting like a body lock, some sort of clinch, some sort of grappling position where he has the advantage, and he waits there. He just waits. Doesn't really make a move. Doesn't really strike much. Sometimes he'll throw elbows, knees to the body, knees to the thigh, but for the most part, he is not really searching a finish. This is a contrast from the Islam that he was to the lightweight division. An Islam that had a knack for submission wins. I believe he had 13, and a ton of ground and pound stoppages. And now he seemingly has none of that. It's not even in his bag. Moving up in weight changed his entire approach in hopes of adapting. Even if Islam is maybe even more dominant at welterweight with his massive control times and his unanimous decisions, his 49-46s, his 50-45s, it's observably more difficult for Islam to get finishes, and that's the paradox. The simple explanation is mass. A welterweight's frame, arms, hips, wingspan, shoulders, they're all so much different to that of a lightweight. If Islam can get his opponents down and he's going to score the round, then why take the risk? Why try and learn something new? It's incredibly effective despite fan dismay, but if it will stay that way remains to be seen. That's why I think it's worth bringing him up. Could age well, could age bad, we'll see. Bottom line, moving up in weight class in the UFC is extremely difficult because it forces a fighter to surrender advantages that may have been fundamental to everything that built them success. Ilia Topuria showed that even an undefeated champion can discover that his power and physicality do not translate the same way against a naturally larger lightweight like Gaethje. Volk demonstrated that being one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters in the world does not eliminate the disadvantage of giving up size to a champion like Islam Makhachev. Lastly, Makhachev's own move to welterweight has shown the opposite problem. Even when his dominance survives the weight jump, his ability to finish fights can diminish as larger opponents become more difficult to control and submit. That moving up is not simply adding pounds to a scale. It changes the physics, strategy, and effectiveness of a fighter's entire game. In a sport where the smallest physical advantage can determine whether a punch lands, takedown succeeds, submissions finish, willingly entering a larger division in search for greatness is the most difficult challenge any athlete can undertake. Fighter moving up means that they're asking their skills to work against an entirely different version of the sport. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. This is a little different. If you're new to the channel, if you're just seeing this because maybe you like UFC, you like MMA, usually here on the channel we do UFC 6 stuff, so we do some gaming stuff, but I wanted to kind of do like a little video essay, a little analysis of the fight game, just to kind of maybe bring in some more people that aren't necessarily gamers, but they still want to talk martial arts and still watch it. And if you're here for that, welcome. I hope you stay around, and I hope you can like some of the other stuff. Thank you guys all for watching. And if you enjoyed, like and subscribe. Comment what you think about this take. What's the hardest thing to do in sports? What's the hardest thing to do in MMA? Do you disagree? Do you think cutting down's easier? I don't know. But yeah, boys, it's been Jake the Don. Peace.